And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Creative Contact. I'm your host, Kia Orion. Thank you for tuning in today, whether you on audio, whether you on video. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. We're out here in beautiful Chiang Mai, Thailand. And today is going to be another part of the episode, or the series. It's going to be episode a little bit different than how I normally do it. It's going to be still part of Behind the Grind, but this time, instead of it being strictly business, today I'm going to dive more into my health stuff because, I try not to be totally in that Silicon Valley white boy biohacker shit, but I'm still a nerdy white guy at heart. So I like to experiment a little bit with the bud, and I'm really about, trying to be healthy and longevity and all that good stuff. So that being said, I heard this podcast a little maybe a few months ago, kind of got the idea going in my head about fasting and, a short fast of a couple days. They were talking about the benefits of a week-long fast, but I'd done a day fast before. I used to do intermittent fasting. I don't have a fascinating relationship. I don't have a great relationship, I guess is the better word for it, with fasting. I did intermittent fasting for a little bit. It wasn't totally my cup of tea. So if you're here for the business stuff, stick around. That'll be close to the end. But this is going to be more of kind of a health-focused podcast where I talk about I fasted for 84 hours and the experience, the challenges, and the kind of my empirical findings, if you will, from the experiment. So it's Monday afternoon now, and my last meal was on Thursday evening. I got together with some homies. We went out. I got some curry, bodied it. It was popping. And I felt like after that, I stopped eating then around 6 p.m. I felt like I was preparing for a marathon or something. Like, I don't know. I'd fasted for a day before, but I'd never done an extended fast of 3 to 4 days. So I wasn't sure what to expect. But I think overall it went well. I'm not keto. I'm not paleo. I'm not carnivore. I'm not one of those crazy diets. Most of my diet consists of almost every meal is going to have a balance of fats, carbs, and protein because I'm a simple man. That's what works for me. And so for breakfast, I found when I was intermittent fasting back in the day, my relationship, to take it all the way back on you, started with intermittent fasting when I was 23 and I first moved to Philly. And that's when I was at 178 pounds at that point. So I was a little bit hefty. I had one of those little samurai man bun things. It was different, okay? We all go through it. Don't judge me. I was a different man back then. And I started doing intermittent fasting, and I found that at that point I was working in marketing. I was working an office job that I would get by lunchtime, by noon, I would just get cranky. Like I would just kind of get kind of pissy, whether with customers or clients on the phone. Things would happen. I'd start to get a little bit shaky. I'd be like, Kia, like, what is going on? Like I would respond to people in just a way that wasn't me, and I could feel it wasn't me, but I don't know why I couldn't snap out of that. It felt, I knew it was physical and mostly mental, but for some reason the physical aspect kind of ended up, I couldn't overpower that just with my mind. So I ended up switching back to eating breakfast and found that again, if you're into diet, weight loss, fitness stuff, that's my whole spiel is you got to find what works best for you, because what works best for me, what works best for The Rock might not be what's best for you. So I found for me, I work best on 3 meals a day. So if you want to get into the nitty gritty of Kia's food, Kia's health experience, I start every day. I come up on the roof up here. I do my hippy dippy morning routine, and then I eat breakfast. And I found for me, breakfast is best if it's I do a green smoothie, like with fruit, either banana, pineapple, or mango frozen, a big old handful of spinach or Swiss chard with some peanut butter, some cinnamon, some flax seeds or chia seeds or some sort of seeds. And if I'm back home, I'll throw in a scoop of protein powder, but here it's so damn expensive, I don't eat protein powder. So, I have some peanut butter in there for some fats and some protein, but it's pretty simple, but it sticks with me. I don't need I don't need a huge breakfast, but I found that green smoothie, I drink that shit straight out the blender. Like, it's plenty. And it's something, and that's what this fasting experiment also taught me, was I don't need the food. You don't, after that first kind of hump, when it gets hard after that first day, you don't, the hunger isn't really the issue, to be honest. I don't really need that much food. I just really like food. I really, the kind of dopamine hit that I get when I think about waking up and getting to eat that smoothie, or lunchtime. For lunch now, because I don't like to cook anymore for lunch because it just takes too much time. It'll be simple. It'll be like some vegetables, like some carrot or tomato, like those little cherry tomatoes. I'll chop those up, and then some sort of protein, maybe a handful of nuts or some tuna, and then maybe an apple or something like that. Or what I have been doing too, this is gonna sound weird, or lentils. Maybe I'll throw some lentils and some tuna, throw sriracha on that bitch. But I'd get seaweed, and I'd wrap the tuna fish. I'd make tuna. I have a little Pops recipe. It's super simple, but something my Pops, I grew up eating tuna salad with Pops. So I make it like that, boom, 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 and then I throw it in like these little tuna wraps. It's like a little tuna joint. Munch on those and they're popping. So needless to say, lunch now is it's pretty minimal. I don't like to eat a ton in the middle of the day because it makes me sleepy. Your boy's already sleepy as is. So if I eat any sort of carbs, like too many carbs at lunch, more than just like an apple or a potato or something, like if I eat rice or too much, I get sleepy, so I gotta take a nap. So I try to keep it pretty light. I'm still eating, you feel me, but it's not quite the same. So my little grazing lunch, but I always look forward to that, because now I'm able to hit the gym around 11:30, and so now when I'm at the gym, I'm excited about coming home and grubbing, and it's not like I really miss having lunch, but I miss just that break from work, and when I get to just like put on some sort of podcast, eat a little something for 20-30 minutes, take a quick break. I just like the way that my meals break up the day for me. And so instead of that, I would go out for a walk or something. I'd still kind of take a break during that time, or go to the gym, and that's something I'm going to get to here in a second, was working out when fasting. But people claim you have that kind of like hyper focused when you're in it, when you're fasting. I did find a mental clarity, but there was this discomfort that came with it that I'm going to jump into in a second, that I didn't find I was necessarily more productive. But anyways, then for dinner, I'll normally have some sort, again, carbs, protein, fat, veggies and chicken, and then again maybe some cherry tomatoes or some carrots, some sort of, or I'll do normally it's greens and chicken, and then some sort of extra veggie, and then for dessert I'll eat fruit. So that's why I could never be keto, man. I just like carbs too much. I love fruit. And so then I'll chop up a pineapple, eat some of it, and then put the rest in the freezer for the smoothie for the next day. So I eat a lot of fruit. Your boy eats hella fruit, and hella nuts. Pause. I actually had to have my boy here, Trevor, shout out Trevor, hold my nuts, because I was afraid of getting a little munching and crunching on when I wasn't supposed to be, because that's kind of my guilty pleasure. Take that as you will. So Trevor was gonna hold my nuts. I got everything back, and that was another thing, was dinner. I'm not a gourmet chef, but I really like to cook. I like to put on a podcast and chef it up, or music or something, and just sort of have that break. And for dinner, I'll usually take a little bit longer, maybe 35, 45, an hour, just to enjoy myself. I eat a lot of the same shit, but I still enjoy it every single time. So that's sort of the take on the food aspect of it. With the fasting, I did water only, and I wasn't really hungry. Like you don't, and maybe this is me, or maybe other folks have had this experience, but I don't miss the food element. Like, I'm not like really craving it, but I miss the way that it would break up the day, and I miss the dopamine hit of just eating shit that I like to eat. So that was probably more than anything the part that I missed the most about the food. Physically, how we doing? Physically, that was where I noticed it the most. I think hunger can be very much a mental game. Like, you know that you can make it days. So if it's like an extra 2 hours before you have your lunch normally, and you're like, oh, I'm hungry, it's really just mental. That's what your body's conditioned to. It is what it is. But physically, I did start to notice some changes where I was just strange things start to happen to you. And this was a baby fast. This was 3.5 days, where some people go a week, 2 weeks. So these results are probably much more pronounced in that regard. But I just found that I was lethargic. Like, there's this thing called NEAT, which is pretty much you have your basic metabolic rate, your BMR, how many calories you burn just as a vegetable lying in bed. And then you have this NEAT variation of how many calories you'll burn just from being a human. So whether that's fidgeting. After some technical difficulties, we're back in action. So hopefully you guys can see this. I think my camera just overheated because it's so hot out. So it dipped out on me early, but fuck it. Maybe it just got bored of me talking about myself. One of the two. But either way, I wanted to finish up this rant about the fast. So something that I noticed was different was just how much energy I wanted to expend throughout the day was very different. I didn't feel like walking, didn't feel like cycling. I'm normally a pretty active dude. None of that really felt very appealing. And that was honestly the reason why I came off the fast when I did, because I was planning on just doing 3 days at first, but then I ended up pushing it an extra maybe 12, 15 hours, because I was like, dude, I could do this. I was like, I could keep doing this for a couple of days, but one, I missed eating. I just missed the fun element of it. But two, I just got tired. I'm not trying to prove anything. It was just an experiment. But I miss having the energy that I had when I wasn't fasting. I miss being in the gym, feeling the energy of the workouts. I miss feeling like I want to go do stuff. And one reason why I did it initially was because when they were talking about it, I'm not trying to lose weight. If anything, I'm trying to get a little bigger. But I did it because I heard of it's supposedly autophagy, I think is what it's called, and it's like your body's. It's like your resetting. So it like clears out. Your body's sort of cannibalizing itself in a good way. It's kind of eating all the. It's doing like a bit of its own cleansing. So. That's the appealing part. Supposedly, there's some research that points to longevity with fasting, so I wanted to give it a shot. And I felt really... It felt... The first day was rough, but then after that, it did, aside from like the lethargy, it felt good. Like, I did feel my joints didn't seem to hurt as much, which was interesting. I normally, if you know me at all and you know my workouts, I rarely lift heavy at all anymore, because when I was in my early 20s, late teens, and I started getting into lifting, I did only barbell strength training. And so I fucked up pretty much all my joints. I've had tendonitis in at this point. I have bad shoulders, bad elbows, both my knees are whack. So now my lifting game is completely changed because of joint pain. Now I do mostly kettlebell bodyweight training, strictly because of all the pain that I've had. I look like a young man, you feel me? But my training age is actually way higher than my actual age, just because I've beat the shit out of my body with poor form and bad technique and not warming up and a whole bunch of things. But needless to say, my training now looks much more purpose-driven, in the sense that I'm now training for jiu-jitsu, or I'm training to just be a dope 100-year-old. I just want to be able to play catch with my kids. I want to be able to run. I want at any second, if people are like, hey, Key, do you want to go play a pickup game of this or that? Or do you want to go roll, do jiu-jitsu or go... I want to just be able to move and not hurt. That's my goal now. It's not to look sexy. It's not to get huge, whatever. It's now... how can I be mobile and have as little pain as possible and be able to not like be limping around or be super sore or anything like that? So that's kind of where I'm at with things physically. So the allure of joint moving and having less joint pain was really appealing to me. And I did find that my right knee gives me a hard time, and I almost didn't feel it, which was pretty crazy. So I'm going to see if that's something that's sustainable and lasting, or if that was just a fleeting thing. And then also physically, your mouth ends up getting really weird and dry. And this may be a little TMI, I almost shit on myself at one point. So Just prepared for that. Your body gets real loose. We'll leave it there. Um, I did find my sleep. I'm normally a pretty dope sleeper because I have a lot of things optimized. The way that I view and get excited about optimizing conversions on a Shopify store, or I'm into just optimizing. So the idea of being, the best that I can be, whether that's making beats, whether that's selling, music, whether that's my diet or my physical training, whatever it is, I'm always trying to optimize. And so with that was partially why I wanted to try this, was to see if maybe this could kind of help me. Maybe doing this every 6 months or something. I've been thinking about that, is maybe how can I optimize for longevity, and supposedly this is one way to do it. So it was I wouldn't say it was fun, but I definitely think I could do it again. Now I know how to prepare better, and just what to expect. I think is more, it's just mental, man. It's just all mindset, whether that's in life or health. Like this is the same shit. And by the time I broke it this morning, I could have kept going. I wasn't like super looking for it. Last night I was looking forward to it. This morning I was like, I don't really need it, but I broke it with a greens shake. I wanted something easy to digest. And so overall it was cool. If you have any questions about it, I did a bunch of research before jumping into it. I'd be happy to share it with you. But it was cool. I know a lot of folks out there are experimenting with, fasting, intermittent fasting, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was good. The week in general was good. I did notice I wasn't nearly as productive, just because it's kind of uncomfortable. So I would recommend, if you are going to do it either at a retreat or something where it's like very planned. You have like it's a meditation retreat, like you do it for spiritual reasons, or if you want to just do it dolo, then do it when you have stuff to do. So that's something that was interesting. I didn't feel like really making beats. I didn't make much music. I just wasn't inspired in that regard, but I did crank out a lot of the other bullshit that goes along with making beats, like putting the videos together for YouTube, making the thumbnails, doing different stuff on the online store, emails, creating these little like behind the scenes bullshit business stuff. I felt much more inspired to do than anything that had to do with music. So that was interesting. And then physically, if you're going to do it, I'd also recommend continue to take it moderate, but continue to work out. I found one day, my mom always does the Philly Marathon. She'll always come to Philly and do it. And so I promised her last year when we were in Philly, I'd run at least part of it with her. So I was like, I'll run, part of it with you. So it was this past weekend. So one day, even though I was out here, I still ran. I think I ran like a 5K on behalf of Mom. Shout out to you, Mom. So I ran some fasted 5K for you. So if I'm built for comfort, not speed, as it is how much I hate running, I really love you. So I ran one day, and that after you kind of get started, I found when I was doing fasted training, I felt a lot better. So after that 5K, I was like, I could probably keep going. Like I felt really good, but I didn't want to push it just in case. And then the next day, I just went for a really long walk. I ran some errands, and I walked around. I got a dope massage, and just kind of took it easy that day. And then the next day, on Sunday, yesterday, I went and trained my sort of normal routine, where I'll do supersets or giant sets of mostly, I'll do something legs and then something with push-pull. I like to now do sort of full-body workouts. Now that I've started to do the jiu-jitsu stuff more, I don't like to work out. I don't like to do my actual weight training on those days. On days I do jiu-jitsu, I'll just do cardio in the middle of the day, either battle ropes, or I'll do sprints, high-intensity cardio, and then I'll do the jiu-jitsu at night. And then on the off days, then I'll do a full-body workout. But this isn't full-body workout like I'm overhead pressing a bajillion pounds and deadlifting a ton. These are like, I'll do like squats, a lot of one-legged movements because of my knee pain and joint pain in the past. I'll do a lot of single leg work. So maybe that's single leg RDLs or single leg split squats or kettlebell loaded step ups, or one-legged glute bridges, all sort of stuff that is focused on one leg, and then I'll do some sort of a push, whether that's push-ups, banded push-ups, or maybe I'll do one-arm pressing. I don't do a ton of pressing with a lot of weight anymore. I'll do dips, and then I'll do some sort of pull-up, weighted pull-up variation. I really like weighted pull-ups or some sort of a row. So, and I'll kind of do a couple sets of those back-to-back. So maybe I'll do like all three together, so that I'm not like I don't just like sitting around the gym just like waiting and resting. So I'll do 3 exercises back to back to back, and then another set of 3 exercises back to back to back, and then I'll do some sort of a finisher, and that might be loaded carries and curls, or that might be, I like to do loaded carries a lot, so it's normally going to be some sort of a farmer's walk with either curls or some sort of shoulder health thing for my upper back. So now, if you want to know about the workout, that's what it is. But that was, interestingly enough, I didn't lose a lot of strength. My lifts pretty much stayed the same. The difference was the intensity that I approached it, and the how quickly I could do exercises consecutively. I felt, you feel like you're almost in zombie mode. Like by the third day, you don't process raw data quite as quickly. At least I didn't. Like if people are talking to me, it might take me a little bit longer to respond, or making decisions I seemed just kind of in a little bit sluggish. And so I'd really have to do a lot of self-talk, like to keep the sets going. I was like, under the pull-up bar, put the chain on, and I'm like, okay, like I have to really talk myself into it, where normally I can just kind of pop out of dips and then throw the chain on, and I'm jamming out and go jam, and I'm ready to rock and roll. So that was different. But the strength, my actual strength didn't decrease. I still could do the same amount of reps and sets. It just took me maybe an extra 15-20 minutes just to go through everything, because you're kind of like, I don't know, it feels like that feeling like you're just waking up when you aren't fully there, and it kind of takes you a second. That's kind of what it feels like, but a lot more often. And so physically, I definitely lost a little bit of weight, hopefully not too much muscle mass, you tell me. But overall, broke it this morning, feeling good. And I think that's about the 20-minute mark, so that's probably where I'll cap it here pretty soon. If you're curious about the fasting, obviously I'm happy to talk to you about it. And business-wise with the music, things are looking good. I'm gonna be able to make that rent promise that I made to you guys and myself of paying my rent this month with beats. But I'm also kind of in this weird space of, there are so many, and I know I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but there are these different avenues, and just trying to figure out how to tackle them best. I find being an entrepreneur is not nearly as sexy as Gary Vee makes it seem. It's a lot of talking to bullshit customer service center folks through the Shopify Help Center, or YouTube, or spending time creating thumbnails or editing videos or editing audio. It's a lot less about really doing your passion and more about just hustling and marketing, because that's the key to the whole thing. So that's my fasting story in a nutshell. Would recommend it. If nothing else, it makes you appreciate food, makes you appreciate your energy, and that in itself is a gem, because I find myself, I'm up on a rooftop in Chiang Mai, so it doesn't get much better than that. Thank you for tuning in, as always. I appreciate you. Appreciate you listening. I've gotten some really good feedback on this, and the fact that you actually tune in and care about what the fuck I have going on in my life means a lot. So thank you. Check you next time. In a week, I'll be back with some more stories and debauchery. All right.